His presentation, I have two speakers to announce. Salvatore Provenzano, he's the VP Sales Europe of Settlemint, and from AB InBev, Nico Verschelde, Global Innovation Director. Let's give them the floor.
Thank you. I apologize, we had to make a change. I'm not Nicholas, I'm Dmitry Stokas. I will be presenting on AB InBev side. Working 4 years in AB InBev, and I was piloting this project, Leffe Transparency, together with Settlemint and Fujitsu. So we will talk about it today. Over to Salvatore.
Yeah, so is it working? No? Test? Yeah? So, hi everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you to be here. I think the main point of this presentation is to debunk a bit the blockchain technology and come with a real-life use case. So thank you, Dimitri, for being here. And we're going to see a real-life use case in blockchain. So first of all, maybe introducing myself and Settlemint. So as it was mentioned, I'm VP Sales Europe at Settlemint. What is Settlemint? Is a high-performance, low-code blockchain platform. So we help companies like AB InBev to bring project to production and to step-by-step realize their blockchain initiative using this technology. So here we have a real-life use case where we had several goals, several objectives, but basically a quick introduction about what was done. You can imagine a pack of Leffe, where you would scan a QR code and get a lot of information, a lot of data about what was done in the manufacturing process of this Leffe that you hold in your hands. Okay, so you will see the kind of advantages it represents, but as you can imagine, it's already a lot of transparency, customer trust, etc. So what you can see already on this slide is the app that the customer is facing, right? So the information that he sees, and some information about the supply chain process and the data that is being delivered. Before going a bit more into how it was done and why it was done, first of all, we'd like to understand a bit how the AB InBev supply chain process works. So, Dimitri?
Yes, so just some insights on our supply chain. First of all, I should say that in Western Europe, we work 100% with indirect farmers. What it means in practice, that we don't buy grain directly from farmers, but instead we have third-party companies and we buy grain from them. So we have, in our supply chain, we have grain cooperatives and malters, which are third-party providers. And that's what makes this supply chain complicated, because they have their own systems, data systems, they have their own processes, and we were in need to have one system, one solution to cover the whole supply chain and to integrate the data not only from AB InBev, but also from third-party suppliers. So we have collected the data, and we built a solution to build a fully transparent supply chain from very beginning on the left, from farmers till the very, very last stage when beer liquid is going to a bottle and a consumer has this bottle in his or her hand. So all through this supply chain, we collected the data on who was the farmer, when grain was harvested, when it was malted, when it came to AB InBev brewery in Belgium, in Leuven, and all the production processes as well, maturation, fermentation, bottling, etc. All this with data and date and timestamps, and also with transportations in between. So with this, I think we can go to the next one, to a solution that was built.
So as you can imagine, having that many third-party actors or different people involved in the supply chain process, well, we have a need for collaboration, collection of data, and this also represents some challenges from a company, from an AB InBev perspective. So you can see some of the challenges that were listed there. Of course, it's a really large company, so it's difficult to give this sense of being your beer being delivered by a local farmer, right? So you need to bring more customer transparency and proximity. That's the number one issue. Then in this supply chain process that is quite complex, you have a lot of optimization that can be done to make sure that also from an economical perspective, it makes sense and you continuously improve the supply chain manufacturing. And then one big topic, I believe that everyone has this topic in mind, is sustainability. So we'll see how, with this challenge and with what we have delivered, we can also bring some topics with this data collection on sustainability. So in the end, what did we deliver? We delivered a blockchain-enhanced supply chain tracking platform, so that track all the changes, all the steps of the manufacturing process, from the farmer until the end customer, with, of course, the different steps in between. That allowed us to, as I said, collect data and make right decision on it to improve supply chain and sustainable decisions. As a result, what were the key impacts for AB InBev? Of course, you have the first thing is the customer experience, right? So the ability for the customer to scan a beer, see exactly where it comes from, and give transparency on the products. But also the ability for AB InBev to have 200 tons of traceable malt to use in Leffe blonde for customers in France. So again, here it's all about transparency, collaboration, and improve engagement. So the next question is why did actually AB InBev decide to do that and with Settlemint? So why did we do it? Maybe some key challenges in supply chain, and more specifically for AB InBev.
Yeah. Well, let's start not from a challenge, but from the idea. So in AB InBev, we love to say that consumer is the boss. And the pilot was targeted to French customers. So you can imagine that's a boss who it's very hard to please. Also, it's a hard market. There is a big competition, not only in between beers itself, between different brewers, but also with other alcoholic beverages. So that pilot was about building a trust with our consumers to show them that we are on open book. You can see the whole supply chain of a Leffe blonde, which you have in your hand. You can see when and how it was produced. You can see who was the farmer. And actually, if you're brave enough, you can go to that farmer to visit that farm if you want. Huh? So it was all about building this trust. But then we don't stop there. We built not only trust with consumers, but also with our suppliers. Because, as I said, supply chain has third-party providers. It's a hard communication to ask them to provide the data. So you need to build a trusted environment. So what we've done, what Settlemint and Fujitsu helped us to do, is to prove to our suppliers that we don't just get their data as AB InBev. Instead, we build a platform and we collaborate and we share the data. Everyone, so malters share their data, AB InBev shares their data for benefit of our consumer. So it's about building trust not only for consumers, but also for suppliers. And probably coming to a bit more technical challenges, again, the big supply chain, right? So you need to have a platform which can operate with the data close to real time, which can gather different data in different formats. And again, close to real time, that's always a big challenge. And I think with blockchain platforms that we built together with Settlemint, but also with Fujitsu, I think we answered that all. So at this moment, I think we can go to the clear benefits of using blockchain for supply chains.
Well, I believe maybe one word about this is you can imagine that this is not unique for AB InBev. We can imagine any manufacturer or any goods that you have in your hands where you would like to have more transparency or on where it comes from, what were the actors involved. There are numerous of use cases that are possible with a similar technology. Well, maybe about the technology itself, of course, what does blockchain help for? First of all, it enhances data collection, so collecting a lot of data and then using that data in the right way to bring more transparency to end customers, collaboration, as we mentioned, security of data too, because it's shared amongst different participants on the network, and real-time data for low costs of the network itself. What can you do with this data? Again, I'm getting back to this sustainability approach, where with that data you can optimize a certain flow, and you can also show to a third party, I mean, it can be a bank, it can be a customer, it can be anyone, that you're sustainable and respecting also your engagement towards CO2 emissions.
One thing I want to add to this slide, if I may, is scalability. So whatever solution you build as a big organization or a small organization should be possible and easy to scale. And I think blockchain is very good for this because, well, two things for scalability. In our pilot, we did it for Leffe blonde, but it can be easily scaled to any brand, any brewery in the world. It's just a matter of formatting your data. But also next to it is scalability of data itself. So let's say if tomorrow you want to include more data points, such as IoT sensors, for instance, or GPS trackers, or whatever data point, data feature you want to add, that's also absolutely possible. And that's probably the easiest way to do it is actually with blockchain. So I really think we should add scalability to a key feature of blockchain as well. And with this one, we are coming to a next phases. Of course, for us, it was a pilot. It was a skeleton. So we built this link. So by scanning a QR code, our consumer can see the whole supply chain, from farmer through malter, through all the brewery processes, till the bottle of beer. But we don't stop there. So some of the use cases we were brainstorming how you can potentially scale your blockchain technology. A very obvious one is consumer loyalty. When you engage consumers, you have a loyalty programs, for example, and if they scan, they get, I don't know, 1+1, for example, promotion. That's a very obvious one. But if you want to talk about more complex solution, think about product environmental footprint. A very hot topic right now in the European Union where we are waiting for new EU regulations that every beer, in our case, will have to have a PEF score on it. So how our beer is impacting the environment. And having this PEF score is one thing, but another thing is to prove how it's calculated and to show how it was done. So it's also where we could potentially use blockchain to prove, to verify the reality of a PEF score, for example. And also, of course, process optimization. So the moment you build this skeleton of a transparent supply chain, you can start adding data on top and on top. And at some point of time, you will start analyzing this data and trying to optimize the processes. Optimize the processes between you and your suppliers, but also optimize processes inside on your brewery or on your transportations between different factories, for example. So there are literally really a lot of things you can do with blockchain. I think we are still investigating that. So I think every one of you can add more and more points to this slide.
Yeah, so we can only imagine the value it can bring also from a productivity perspective. So with this data collection, we could also imagine an aspect of bringing added value to even farmers, allowing them to be more productive, more sustainable, and to have a better impact on the overall supply chain because you collect data from all the farmers and you give them good advices. And you can do that for every step of the supply chain, up to the customer telling them what kind of beer take according to their taste, etc., etc. So now a bit about how did we do it, Dimitri?
Yeah, sure. So what we've done together with Settlemint and Fujitsu, so first of all, you need to bring all the data together. In our case, it was external data providers, so as I said, our malters, but also grain cooperatives, but also internal AB InBev data coming from SAP. So we extracted all that data, and Settlemint Fujitsu, they built a web application for us to upload this data to a blockchain itself. You can always say that it's better to have direct integration, of course, and it's completely possible with blockchain. But for a pilot, it was probably a perfect solution just to have a web platform, so to do it fast and also cheap. So once data is loaded to a blockchain, there is a, I will call it a blockchain magic, right? But there is a complex logic in contracts, how actually the link the link between the data points is happening. But you can imagine a supply chain as just list of operations, one by one, and with unique links between each other. And then we built a consumer-facing application, so again, web-based. So the whole journey, the end stage of journey is that you have your Leffe blonde six-pack, and you have a QR code printed on back on it. So you can, as consumer, you scan it, and you're being redirected to this platform on the right, where you enter data from your pack, and you're being redirected to a story of this beer. So again, you see the farmer name. You see where this farm is and when grain was harvested. You see when it was moved to malt supplier and when it was melted. You can also see when it came to a Leuven brewery in Belgium. And you can also see all the stages of manufacturing process. All with date and time stamps, so very transparent. And then in the very end of this chain, you see yourself handling this bottle of beer. So that's a bit technicality. Of course, it's very high level. We're not gonna go to details, but yeah, I think the solution we built together in collaboration with Settlemint and Fujitsu was just perfect for this use case. Over.
Great. So the objective of the presentation was, of course, to show you a real-life use case, something really concrete to understand how the technology works and what it can bring as a value. Of course, if you have any question, I think you have the tool to put your question there. I invite you also to download a mini book about different topics around blockchain, right? So Settlemint has delivered different mini books. And I would like to thank again Dimitri for coming here and presenting this project.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.